Hey everybody out there, this is Seto, and today for you guys we are going to do a top 3 video on the top 3 decks that I believe deserve link monsters or need link monsters. Now there are a multitude of decks out there in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! That I probably will not mention that actually need link monsters in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Because A, Master Rule 4 hindered what the deck does best. This could be because it was a rank 4 spam deck. This could be because it was a synchro spam deck. And it needs a way to get to its generic link monsters. Thankfully in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now, we have a lot of good generic link monsters that are easy to get to. Be Boros Sword, Boro Load, Firewall Dragon, Sayuja, and all the Nightmares. We have a lot of different ways and a lot of good generic link monsters to make boards accessible to these other mechanics. However, these decks are really hindered and don't have the capacity to some extent to put out the resources for a link monster as well as doing what they do best. So these are the 3 decks that I believe need support, and without further ado, let's get into the video. But before I do that, I do want to make an honorable mention to Synchrons. Now, Needle Fiber could get announced any day now for us over here in the TCG. It could be an import, it could be in the Megatins, it could be in anything right now. It's speculated about in every set that possibly Konami's hinting at Needle Fiber. Some people say it could be a prize card, some people do not say it cannot be a prize card. We don't know. All I know is that Synchrons and going into Quasar Dragon will be a lot more easier when we have Needle Fiber. But until then, Synchrons really need a generic link monster. This may come also in the fact that we are getting a Yusei Fudo tin for one of the Megatins in 2018 at the time of making this video, and there could be something which the Konami's already stated will help Synchron-based decks out. This could be Needle Fiber, we don't know yet at the time of making this video, or this could be something else. But that's why it's an honorable mention. So without further ado, let's get to number 3. So number 3 on this list, guys, is a deck that I have felt it's a good deck. It was even a meta deck back in the day. It even won a YCS in Dragon Ruler format because he ran a lot of trap cards. And that is Geargia. Geargia is kind of falling in this broad umbrella of these Exceed-based decks and Synchro-based decks from the Synchro era and the Exceed-based decks from the Vrains era, not the Vrains era, excuse me, but pretty much even the Vrains era, any rank 4 toolbox deck that we ever had in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! This could include Battling Boxers, Heretics, Gadgets, what have you. Some of these decks have easily accessibility into getting into a link monster. Some of them do not. Geargia is one of those weird things. Now we do have the this link monster, the Queerpulse Tower we just got from the Link Vrains pack imported in January that has 2 downporting arrows. This is generic because machines can make it, but still, Geargia are known for going for their just rank 4 spam plays. They go for Geargia Giant X to search out their other combo pieces. They go for armor, they set their armor and things of that nature. What do I think the deck needs? I think it needs a way to set armor directly from the deck onto the field, and then you can flip it to get your search off. I think that would be one of the best ways to help this deck out in the modern era of Yu-Gi-Oh! I think Geargia, like I said, falls under this wide umbrella of a lot of rank 4 decks, a lot of synchro spam decks that are from old, that were hurt by Master Rule 4. And while Konami, for the most part, has addressed a lot of these archetypes and a lot of these decks and concepts and themes, there are still a lot of decks out there that still need that little bitty of support to help them function in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! They don't need to be broken, they just need to be accessible and decent link monsters. So let's get on to the number 2 deck that I think really needs support. And that is Karakuri. Now, Karakuri and Geargia, if you guys don't know, were actually mushed together back before Master Rule 4. This guy right here actually used to play this deck way back in the day. Karakuri was a fun OTK deck that was played during the late 5Ds era, early Zexal era, and was even played later on just for fun and casual at locals. But Geargia Karakuri was actually a very dangerous archetype back in a different era of Yu-Gi-Oh! You could add and gather up all your resources, go for Exceed plays, at the same time set up with your different Karakuri monsters to go for Burrito and Karakuri Shogun to OTK your opponent out of the wazoo. It was a very good machine-esque type of deck that had a lot of potential. However, Master Wu 4 ultimately killed this deck concept and idea because you couldn't spam out multiple extra deck monsters. Alas, Geargia, while still which is on this list, is still viable to some extent. Karakuri is ultimately dead in the water and is non-viable whatsoever. There really needs to be a generic Link Karakuri monster with 2 down-pointing arrows because the deck has a hard time functioning whatsoever in any capacity because of this reason. I think a generic monster that helps with bringing out the tuners from the deck could be useful. Needle Fiber to some extent can be used in the deck to help with different spam plays to some extent. So overall, the deck has possible potential of being a decent deck in the future, but for right now, the deck currently in its current state is dead in the water, and especially the hybrid version of both Geargia and Karakuri combined together is dead in the water completely and utterly until further notice, sadly, which was a fun deck that I loved to play back in the day. So without further ado, let us get to the number 1 deck that I believe really needs support, and I really, and a lot of other people I've talked to believe that this deck got the short end of the stick when it came to Master Wu 4. And that deck, guys, is Buster Blader! Yes, Buster Blader. Now, Buster Blader has a very interesting story here. When it originally came out, it was not an amazing deck. It really wasn't. It was okay. Then it got legacy support over the course of the next couple of sets, over the next year or so. And it slowly started to become better. It became easier to set up your Synchro monster and then have your fusion and be able to set up your combos. And it became pretty decent. And then something called Master Wu 4 came out. And the deck became utterly unplayable whatsoever. It really did. I think what Konami needs to do is make a generic Link 1 or Link 2 monster that functions the same as the Synchro Dragon, and at the same time you can bring out your fusion, which can be your big bad monster, and do combo plays in that aspect by having a big monster that can just attack all your opponent's dragons. But the deck really got the short end of the stick when it came to it. It's still a playable deck that you can play in different forms and incarnations, but at the end of the day, it needs a generic Link 2 or Link 1 monster that requires maybe 1 dragon, 1 warrior, or just a generic card that works with Buster Blader. The deck needs it very badly. It can function, but it can function nowhere compared to what it did before Master Wu 4. When I look at deck builds and deck concepts, I find that this deck is one of the few decks out there, along with Ghost Tricks, which I'll mention as another honorable mention here at the end of this video, that really gets hindered by Master Wu 4 in its playability and capacity to do combo plays. It really needs a generic Link monster to some extent. The next deck I'm going to mention as an honorable mention before I end this video here, guys, is Ghost Tricks, which I know a lot of you guys are going to wonder, well, why did you not mention Ghost Tricks on this deck profile? Well, I think Ghost Tricks need a Link monster or some better support, but they're not hindered necessarily by Master Wu 4 in the plays that they can play. They are hindered because Link monsters can't be put in defense position. These other decks that I mentioned in this list are hindered by Master Wu 4 in that they can only go for 1 Exceed extra deck monster or 1 Synchro-esque monster or fusion. For this case, a Buster Blader. Ghost Tricks are not hindered by this. They are hindered by Link monsters themselves. What do I think Ghost Tricks need, though, to become successful, and why I put them on an honorable mention is they are hindered ultimately by Link monsters. There needs to be a way to fix Ghost Tricks, but I have no idea what to do to fix it. So I hope you guys all enjoyed this video of the top 3 decks that I believe need support. I hope you enjoyed the honorable mentions. There are probably other decks out there that I did not mention on this list, but I would love to hear what you think of some other decks that need Link support monsters because they have trouble doing their initial combos. The combos that make them a fundamental good deck before. What made them a deck? What makes them function in a deck? they are hindered by Master Wolf 4. And I would love to hear what your thoughts on what they need to be successful in the modern era of Yu-Gi-Oh! Not broken, but a good support card. So till next time, guys, take care, have fun dueling, good luck dueling to all of you, and I will see all of you next time. Good luck dueling to all of you guys. Hope you enjoyed the video very much, and take care, everybody. See you all next time.
Late nights, long fights, it felt right.